Do you remember the taste of your favorite childhood burger? What if I told you the place that made it is gone forever? Today we're taking a trip down memory lane to revisit 15 fast food chains that have completely vanished. You might think you remember them all, but trust me, some of these stories are truly unbelievable. The last one on our list had a mascot so strange, it's a miracle it lasted as long as it did. So stick around because you won't want to miss this. Let's start with number 15, Burger Chef. Back in the 60s and 70s, Burger Chef was a giant, even rivaling McDonald's. They were pioneers, inventing the kids' meal complete with toys, which they called the fun meal. They had over 1,200 locations at their peak. So what happened? A series of bad business decisions and aggressive competition led to their slow decline. With the last Burger Chef closing its doors in 1996, coming in at number 14 is Geno's Hamburgers. Named after football legend Gino Marchetti, this East Coast chain was famous for its Geno Giant Burger. They were a huge deal in the Baltimore and Philadelphia areas. But when they were bought out by Marriott Corporation in the early 80s, most locations were converted into Roy Rogers restaurants, and the Geno's name faded into history. At number 13, we have Lum's. Their claim to fame: hot dogs steamed in beer. It sounds a little weird, but people loved it. At their height, Lum's had over 400 locations across the country. Unfortunately, financial troubles in the late 70s and a disastrous acquisition of Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas led to bankruptcy, and the beer-steamed hot dogs were no more. Next up, number 12, Kenny Rogers Roasters. Yes, named after that Kenny Rogers. This chicken chain, co-founded by the country music star, became a pop culture icon thanks to a famous Seinfeld episode. They specialized in wood-fired rotisserie chicken. While they were popular in the 90s, the chain struggled in the U.S. and eventually disappeared. Though a few locations surprisingly still operate in Asia today. Halfway through our list, and the stories just get more interesting. If you're enjoying this nostalgic journey, do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button. It helps us keep making videos like this one, and you won't miss our future deep dives into forgotten history. Thanks a bunch. All right, let's get back to it. At number 11 is Pup N Taco. This quirky California chain served a bizarre but beloved menu of tacos, hot dogs, and slushies. It was cheap, it was fast, and it had a cult following. In 1984, Taco Bell bought out most of their locations, absorbing them into their empire and erasing the unique Pup N Taco from the fast food landscape. Number 10 is Howard Johnson's, or Hojo's. While known more for their hotels, the accompanying restaurants were an American roadside staple for decades. With their iconic orange roofs, they served classic comfort food and 28 flavors of ice cream. But as highway travel changed and competitors like Denny's grew, Ho slowly dwindled, with the very last restaurant closing for good just a couple of years ago. At number 9, we have Wetson's. This was a New York City area burger joint that gave McDonald's and Burger King a run for their money in the 60s and 70s. They were known for their 15-cent burgers and bright orange and white color scheme. But they expanded too quickly and couldn't keep up when the big guys started a price war. By 1975, they were gone. Number 8 is Carroll's. Before they became the largest Burger King franchisee in the world, Carroll's was its own chain, selling the club burger. They were a major presence in the Northeast. However, a contract with Burger King forced them to convert all their locations, effectively wiping their own brand off the map. We're getting closer to the end, and the final few chains are ones you have to hear about to believe. Let's look at number 7, Delight's. This chain from the 80s was ahead of its time, focusing on healthy fast food. They offered lean beef burgers on high-fiber buns and low-calorie options. The concept was brilliant, but maybe the world just wasn't ready for a diet-conscious drive-thru. They expanded rapidly, but fizzled out just as fast. Number 6 is Red Barn, known for its big red barn-shaped buildings. This chain was famous for its Big Barney and Barnbester burgers. They also had the first self-service salad bars in a fast food setting. Despite their innovations and popularity, corporate mismanagement and franchisee disputes led to their demise in the 1980s, down to the top 5. At number 5 is Pioneer Chicken. This California-based fried chicken spot was known for its bright orange decor and delicious crispy chicken. They were a serious competitor to KFC in the West, but financial struggles and a changing market in the late 80s saw them fade away, with only a couple of locations left today. Number 4 is Jerry's Hamburgers. A Canadian classic, Jerry's was a staple in the 70s. Their commercials featured a cartoon caveman, and they were loved for their simple, tasty burgers. But intense competition from the American giants moving north proved to be too much, and Jerry's disappeared from the Canadian landscape. At number 3, we have White Tower. If this looks familiar, it's because they were a direct copy of White Castle, right down to the white fortress-like buildings. They were sued by White Castle and forced to change their architecture, but they survived for decades, offering tiny, cheap sliders. Over time, they just couldn't keep up, and the towers fell one by one. The runner-up at number 2 is VIP's. This was a 24-hour diner chain prominent in the Pacific Northwest. They were the go-to spot for late-night meals and coffee. In the 80s, a major competitor, Denny's, bought out most of the chain and converted the locations, ending the VIP era almost overnight. And finally, the number 1 defunct fast food chain you won't believe existed, the All-American Burger. This might not sound strange, but its claim to fame is being the workplace in the iconic 80s movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High. But wait, there's more. Before that, in the 1960s, there was a real chain called the All-American Burger, which had a truly bizarre mascot, a talking hamburger puppet named Irby. Irby was a bit creepy and ultimately failed to connect with kids. The chain itself struggled to find an identity and quietly faded away, leaving behind only strange commercials and a place in movie history. From beer-steamed hot dogs to creepy puppets, the world of fast food is full of forgotten giants.